She loved him in silence, then let him go in peace. By Atlanna Healing. She never needed the world to know how deeply she loved him. Her love didn't live in grand decorations or public displays. It lived quietly in the hidden spaces of her soul, in the sacred pauses of her breath, in the way she smiled when she thought of him, even when the pain pulsed underneath. She loved him with a kind of silence that most hearts couldn't hold. A silence that prayed for his joy, even when he walked away. A silence that forgave before apologies ever came. A silence that waited, long after the world told her to move on. She waited, not because she was weak, but because she saw something real. A soul beneath the shadows. A softness hidden behind his ego. A man he himself had not yet met. And in her heart, she believed, if he could just remember who he is, he would finally remember what we are. But time passed, and he didn't return. Not fully, not truthfully. He came and went like the tides, sometimes warm, sometimes distant, sometimes saying just enough to keep her hoping, but never enough to hold her fully. And still, she loved him. She loved him in his absence. She loved him through his silence. She loved him when he didn't answer, when he forgot birthdays, when he said, "I'm just not ready." She didn't love what he gave her. She loved who she knew he could be. And that was the hardest part, loving the potential while living with the pain. But something inside her began to shift, not all at once, but slowly, softly, like morning light warming a room that had long been cold. It began the day she looked at herself in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman who had once radiated joy. It began when she realized she had stopped laughing, stopped creating, stopped singing to the moon. It began when she realized she had been loving him more than she had been loving herself. And that was the moment her heart chose peace over pain. She didn't leave with anger. There were no fights, no slammed doors, no blocks or dramatic goodbyes. She simply stopped reaching. She stopped hoping for a text. She stopped interpreting the silence. She stopped waiting for the one day that never came. Not because she stopped caring, but because she finally cared enough to let go. She understood now. She could love someone with her whole heart and still choose not to lose herself in the process. She could forgive the past without reopening the door. She could hold the memory with reverence without sacrificing her future. And in this graceful goodbye, there was no bitterness, just softness, just truth, just a quiet knowing. Some souls are meant to meet you, but not stay with you. He may never understand what she carried for him, how deeply she loved, even in his absence. He may never know that every time he disappeared, she sat beneath the stars and whispered, "I hope he's okay. I hope he's healing. I hope he finds what he's looking for." Because her love wasn't conditional. It wasn't based on what he did or didn't give. It came from her essence, from the divine within her. And that kind of love is eternal. But eternal doesn't always mean forever together. So when he returns someday, as souls often do, when he remembers what they shared and the depth of what he once ran from, she will smile. Not with regret, not with longing, but with peace. Because she no longer waits, she no longer aches. She has turned that love inward. She has nourished her own garden. She has become the woman who no longer needs closure, because she became the closure herself. And that is the most powerful kind of ending. Not with doors slammed shut, but with hearts left open and healed. Because she loved him in silence, but she let him go in peace. And in doing so, she set herself free. By Atlanna Healing. For the women who loved without expectation, waited without anger, and walked away with grace in their soul and peace in their heart.